Hey team, okay, in this video, basically you're going to meet someone that is 10 times smarter than me. His name is Clay. He's also an Aussie. He's the only other Aussie in the team with me. And what he's going to do is actually go over 4 proposals that I did mention previously in my stream that you guys would have seen, hopefully. So what he's going to do is basically break down everything. And I want you guys to come into this video with an open mind and don't have your mind in your pockets just for this video. I know that's going to be difficult, but we need to make sure that we are focused on the longevity and the game surviving. Now, I want to make note that these are also not the be-all end-all. What we're doing here is basically just temporary band-aids, enabling us to have time to be able to develop the theory that we have in the back end about how this ecosystem should be. But as you guys know, we do need more time. So hopefully this video helps you guys make an informed decision. And we want to make sure that this is the way that we do move forward in the future as well. Right now we don't have Themis, but we will. And what we'll be able to do is actually put this entire proposal to you guys through Themis so you're able to vote. I'll also put the public link for this proposal in the comments of this YouTube video. So without further ado, I present to you guys Clay.
Alrighty, hey everyone. As you can see, I'm definitely not Corey, but my name is Clay, and I also work at Pegaxy in the research and development team. And Corey wanted to basically hand the reins over to me to talk to you guys through the proposed changes that we talked about in the last live stream. The reason for that is I've been working very close to the ground, very close and personal with these numbers. So I kind of understand this from a mathematics perspective. And hopefully I can explain this to you in a low level, just so it makes sense to you guys. So when we release this article, you have a bit of context around it all and why we've made these changes and that kind of thing. So basically there's about 10 or 11 different things that I want to go through today. Basically provide some background as to why we're implementing these changes, what these changes are, and basically the effects of these changes on the life cycle, the ecosystem, the mint rate, the burn rate, and all of those kind of things, right? If you guys tune into the last live stream, Corey mentioned 4 things. So he mentioned the flippening, adult cooldowns, energy variations, and additional Pegas being added to races. So basically my job was to take these 4 ideas proposed by the community, basically run the numbers, run a whole heap of different simulations, and then hand the information over to the other economists and data scientists within our team to see if they agree with my maths and see if it's viable. And we've gone through that process over the past couple of weeks. And we're at a point now where we're ready to hand these over to the community to see if they like them or agree with them, their feedback, and then basically we'll slowly roll it out into the game, hopefully within 1 to 2 weeks. So first off, let's provide some context and some background. The current breeding rules. Now, as we can see, there are 4 bloodlines: Hoz, Campona, Clin, and Zan. And the major benefits that we have here are for the Hoz, and it increases by 48 hours as we go from left to right. And this has been, since the inception back in the late 2021, this has just been how it is. And we have just kind of noticed, and you would have noticed as well, that there is such a Hoz dominance that we need to do something about that, all right? And I talk about the rarity and stuff as well, and I just give some background, but I'm not going to go through that now because it's stuff that you guys already know. But the first thing that we need to do is we need to have a look at the current Pega population, okay? So at the time of doing this analysis, there was only 175,000 Pega born, and I know that since then we're looking close to 200,000. It's probably even more by the time this video releases, but this is just what we're looking at for now. And it's just important to note that a lot of these numbers change very fast and very quickly, but this is just a point at time analysis to look at what we could have done, what we could do, what it might look at, and just do our prediction as best we can. I mean, obviously we're not fortune tellers, but we can use math the best we can to get the best results there, okay? So looking at the distributions, we have Hoz at about 45%, Zans, Clins, and Camponas at about 20% each, okay? If we look at the growth rate of the Pega bloodlines, we can see that Hoz is growing at a much faster rate than the other bloodlines. We can see that it's just kind of a steady growth here for the Campona, the Clins, and the Zans. And we know this because, as I mentioned before, it's because the breed cooldown and the race cooldown for the Hoz is so much lower than the other breeds that heaps of guilds and heaps of people are just smashing out the Hoz just because there's so much benefit there for them to do that. But it's creating a huge imbalance there, right? And when our other quant who works with us, Neil, he basically created a model to look at the growth of this and calculated that the Hoz is increasing at a growth rate of 150% every cycle of 15 days. And when I talk through these examples and those kind of things, generally when I talk about a cycle, I talk about a 15-day period because that's when most people mint after 15 days. So that's when I talk about cycles here, okay? Mathematically speaking, starting to get into the numbers, hopefully I won't lose you here, but when we talk about a population, and a Pega is a population, it's a breed, we breed parents and we get offspring, we can talk about something called an exponential growth and decay model, right? And this is something that is standard when you talk about animals, when you talk about humans and all of those kind of things. And I've added a source here if you want to look at the different mass behind exponential growth and decay and why this is occurring. And we can match these models here to what we're seeing with the Hoz, okay? The difference between a human population of exponential growth is humans die and animals die when they reach a certain age. Pega currently don't die, okay? So it's just going to be an exponentially forever unless we do something, okay? And that's what these proposed changes try to fix. Why is this a problem and why is it occurring? Basically, Hoz have a 24-hour cooldown for racing and breeding. This means that if I was to breed a Hoz within a given cycle, a 15-day cycle, it means that it's only unable to race for one of those days and it can earn for 14 out of those 15 days within the cycle, okay? In comparison, if we look at Zan, we can see they have a huge cooldown of 96 hours, which means that they can only race for 11 out of the 15 days within the given cycle, and they have no benefits, right? They don't breed faster or anything. So this is where the first community proposed solution came out, which is called Corey dubbed the flippening, okay? So what happens if we flip the Hoz and the Zan the other way? So Hoz have the breed cooldown, but it means that they're unable to race for 96 hours. And in comparison, Zan have a breed cooldown of 96 hours, but they're able to race after 24 hours, okay? Now, for the mathematics behind this, I used a sample of 150,000 horses because at the time there was 176,000, so I just rounded down to get 150,000. I looked at the distribution of the bloodlines here. So here we have Hoz at 45% wheat and Clin, Campona, and Zan. There was a graph above, I already talked about it. And I basically split the sample distribution that we have into the different population sample sizes here. And then I basically calculated the maximum races that we can do based on the bloodline, okay? So if you remember here before, this is before the flippening, I said that we can race a Hoz 14 out of 15 days. They get 24 energy each day, and they gain 1 additional energy from their born, so they have their 25 energy. So I know within a 15-day cycle that they can race 337 races. And in comparison, the Zan, that can only race 11 days out of a given cycle, they can only race 265 races, okay? So it's quite a significant difference there. Now, the average win rate of the Pega is about 24%, and I know it's supposed to be about 25%, but there's some that are higher, some that are lower. This is just taken on the last sample that I pulled from the database, so it might be different now, but this is what I looked at the time, right? And again, the average amount of viz earned per race, it's approximately 175 divided by 3 for first, second, and first. So that's just what we're going off for this as well, okay? I know it might be different, but that's just basically where we're sitting at, okay? So this means that within a given cycle of 15 days, we have Hoz earning almost 5,000 viz, Camponas almost 4,500, Clins 4,000, and Zans 3.7k, okay? Based on the population sample size that we estimated before, within a 15-day period, we're looking at about 662 million viz minted. This is currently, okay? So what would happen if we flip that, do the flippening? What would those viz mint statistics look like? And I've got here in bold capital letters. I know that bloodline distribution would be different because people would be maybe less opposed to breeding Hoz versus Zan, or they might want to breed more Zan. So it might not be 18% Zan, it might be 40% Hoz instead of 45. But we're just doing this as a simple baseline comparison. So just bear with me here and just assume this for now, okay? So it's flipped. So in a given 15-day period, the Hoz can only race 265 now. In comparison, Zan can race 337. Going through the same mathematical statistics of 23.7% with 60 viz earned on a win, we're looking at about 620 million viz minted per cycle. So based on this information, we're going from 662 to 620. And this is a small, very, very small change of only 6.3% per cycle of 15 days or per day, however you're going to look at it. But what this does provide to us is a benefit for Zan and Clint and that kind of thing when it comes to racing. So we want to provide benefits to the other bloodlines, and hopefully this does provide a benefit to Zan. If you want a lot of races, if you have a lot of scholars, or if you only care about breeding and you don't care about that racing cooldown, then maybe Hoz is the answer for you, okay? So based on this information provided to the internal team, as it stands, this is an accepted change that we're looking to implement into the game. But based on some community feedback and what the community says, we might change or tweak some of this a little bit, okay? As I said, this is only 6.3%, so we started to look at some other options. And the first thing that Corey mentioned is adult cooldowns. So what happens if we add a standard 4-day race cooldown to the parent after they breed? And also we know that we also have a baby breed cooldown of 96 days, okay? And when we talk about, so what I did here is I took a sample of January, okay? I know at the time of this, it was like the second week of February, and I know we're nowhere near 76,000 horses now, but I just wanted to look at January for a baseline example. And we saw that there was 76,000 horses born. Similar statistics, we have Hoz at 55%, and then 15, 15, 18 for the Zan, Clint, and Campona. This is the sample distribution based on those numbers. This is the current, what we already talked about. Before the flippening, scroll down to 684 million. This is something that I already described just before. But let's have a look at what the maximum viz mints would be for the 76,000 horses if we added the adult cooldowns. So basically, we know we can see the amount of breeds that we have for the month of January as well. We can see that a lot of Hoz went to 3 out of 7. A lot of Hoz and everything else basically went out to 2 out of 7. And I know that in this given month of January, there's a high chance that not all of these horses were bred, for 0 to 5 times. But I'm just assuming that they were for the basis of these mathematical calculations. Okay. I've also expanded to the whole month of January rather than a 15-day cycle, because a 4-day cooldown is quite a long time. So if we only use it for a 15-day cycle, it doesn't provide a good enough basis to look at the long-term impacts. So I've changed it from a single cycle to a double cycle for the whole month of January. Okay. If we look at a Hoz, with the flippening, they have a 4-day cooldown, so they can race 26 days. However, you breed it once, then the adult has a 22 racing day cooldown. If you breed it twice, 18 days, you get it, okay? It goes on -4, -4, -4. However, we know, Zans with the buff, they only have a 1-day racing cooldown, so the 0 out of 7s can race for 29 days in a given cycle. However, then after that, it's a -4, -4, -4, and so on because of the 4-day parent cooldown. Based on these calculations, again, of 23.7%, and we know that they earn about 60 viz per win. I put it in a big table to calculate the single earnings for 30 days. And then I basically did a big population earnings for 30 days based on this. And long story short, we got to 442 million viz minted in a given cycle. So if we look at this from a whole numbers perspectives, this means that we go from 684 million viz minted currently for the month of January to 442 million viz. This is a huge decrease of 35.3%, okay? So I know the 4-day cooldown is a big thing, but it's a huge viz reduction. It allows us to buy more time in regards to that population exponential growth. So based on this information and giving this information to the team, we're looking at accepting this change as well. Okay. Next thing we talked about is variable energies. Okay. At the moment, every horse is born with 24 energies. They're born with 25, but they have a maximum cap of 24, regenerating 1 energy per hour. So based on this simple information, we can see that within a given cycle of 15 days for 150,000 horses, we're looking at minting about 767 million viz. Okay. One solution that we had from the public was changing the energy to be variable. And the way that we're looking of doing that is changing the energies to be variable between 10 and 20, okay? With 15 being the most common occurring value. And one thing, the way that we do that is with a normal distribution function, okay? So basically, if we look at this graph here, the amount of Pega, we can see that 15 energy will be the most common occurring, but there's a chance for some Pega to have 20, and there's a chance for some Pega to have 10, and it will be randomly distributed like this, okay? Based on this assumption of 15 energy average, again, looking at a sample of 150,000 horses, we look at seeing at about 479 million viz generated in a given cycle. And again, this is a decrease of 767 mil to 479 million and a decrease of 37.5%, okay? Important to note that it's completely random, and also the energy cap or energy regen rate will match the energy cap, okay? So I see I have 13 energy, so my 13 energy will regen over 24 hours at 1.8 energy per hour, at 1 energy every 1.8 hours, okay? So this doesn't mean that, I only have 10 energy, but I still regen 24 over 24 hours. So I need to quickly burn my energy quickly. It's not like that. 10 energy means 10 races in 24 hours, okay? This won't be done retrospectively. So this means that for the current horses in the market, they will keep the 24 energy. This is only for future horses. Again, proposed to the team, and they believe that this change should be implemented, so it's been accepted. The last one that we looked at is increasing the number of Pegas in a race from 12 to 15, okay? I won't go into the numbers too much, but basically it's a decrease of viz minted in a given cycle to 19%. The problem with this one is for solutions 1, 2, and 3, it doesn't require any 3D work or Unity changes to the game. It's just changes to the Pega breeding and the kind of Pega contracts and smart contracts and those kind of things. The difference between increasing the numbers of competitors in a game, it requires a fair bit of legwork on the 3D team, and we know that they're already busy with other things, okay? So this change is quite significant with a decrease of 19% per cycle. But we put this one on the back burner for now, but we just want to show you the maths to say we do have this up our sleeve for a future update if we feel that it's required, but we're just holding on to it for now, okay? So these are the 4 changes. 3 of them are set to be implemented over the coming weeks, probably within a week. Depends how soon we get this video out to you. We want to release this before Themis comes out, so then we can start working on some other things as well, right? So just to close off, this is a lot of information. We're going to give it all to the public. I also want to cultivate some conversations with you, so feel free to, message me on Twitter if you want. My @ is @ClayTradeStuff, or you can message me in the Pegaxy Discord. My Discord name is Norris #4411. Okay, so message me on Twitter or on Discord. Let's start to create some conversation around these numbers. Call me out if you think things are wrong or things incorrect or unfair, and hopefully all of these changes, the goal of this is not to reduce the amount of viz. I mean, it is one of the benefits, but the goal of this is to basically balance the bloodlines, okay? Create some, that's the goal of options 1 and 2. The variable energy thing is because we're looking at probably implementing some genetics in the future. So if we have some variable Pegas with some variable energy, then hopefully this starts to get us ready for implementing these changes in the future, okay? It was nice to meet you all. Hopefully have more of these discussions with you in the future, and I'll see you guys next time.